Well, hey there, friends, it's Chris from the Rate the Record podcast, and once again, it is that time of the week where I do the new music review, which means I have 4 brand new tracks that I checked out this week. I have opinions on them. I want to hear your opinions on them. That's how this whole thing works. So I think we should just jump in and get started. And sliding over here can only mean one thing. This is where I tell you that if you like what you see and hear today, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Liking the video really helps more people see it. Subscribing, obviously the numbers growing helps the algorithm too. Leaving comments, especially, your opinions on the songs that we're going to be listening to today. All of these things really do help the channel. It's free, it's easy. Like, subscribe, and yes, comment too. Let's get all the good algorithm things going. Very greatly appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's talk about music. So first up on the list today, we have Black Moth Super Rainbow, the experimental, psychedelic, electronic group out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just recently, the band has released an expanded version of their 2004 album Start a People, I guess coinciding with the 20th anniversary. And with that, they've released a batch of brand new tracks, or at least ones that were of the era of cutting room floor type deal. And the one that came across my radar is called Melting on a Meadow. So every descriptor I just used to introduce this band is exactly what you can get out of this song. But then again, if you're already into Black Moth's catalog, you're already well aware of this. This isn't a surprise, so no shocker there. But if you're new to it, yeah, everything I used to describe them, that's exactly what this song is. This manages to feel really atmospheric and warm despite all the sharper electronic sounds that kind of just run the entire track, from the instrumentation to the vocals as well. Because yes, with the vocals, there's a very heavy use of a vocoder in this one that sounds very robotic, and it has that kind of like vocal modulator feel circa Windows 98. That is, if you're old enough to even remember Windows 98. The real instrumentation that you can hear behind all the electronics, and from as far as I can tell, it just sounds like some drums and some guitar as well. They have a far damper and lo-fi quality to them, and it does a really decent job of fitting into the all-around texture of the track. Overall, I'll say that it's not super exciting. It's relatively short too, it's under 3 minutes, but it's still really pleasant enough to actually get through the entire thing, so there's not too much worry there. And it feels warranted being on this extended album rather than the original, so given that stance, it's really not that bad. I didn't dislike it regardless, but just kind of putting that note out there. But what did you think about it? So coming up next on the list today, we have Fontaines D.C, a post-punk band out of Dublin, Ireland, and they're currently busy right now working on their 5th studio album called Romance, and it's supposed to be due out in August. And they've released a teaser for the album in the form of today's song that I'm listening to called Starburster. This one's definitely a fun little number, at least I think so. There are so many layers of harmonies among all the instrumentation and the vocals, and it really acts as a treat for the ears. And speaking of layers, there was definitely more popping out to me the more listens that I went through of this particular track. Nothing feels like it's being overdone, nothing feels overused, so that's the good part about all of this, because it's so easy to just kind of congest your entire mix with layers that aren't needed. But I think everything here works on its own, creating different harmonies, just different textures going along with everything. It was really, really pretty, and it kind of creates this very pleasant and lush soundscape. On top of all that, though, I will say there are some pretty jarring moments of these very heavy and audible gasps coming between certain phrasings, and it's obviously very deliberate with the production choice on that one. I'm not really sure what they were going for with it. It did make it a little fun, although sometimes it felt a little unnecessary. But then again, going back with several listens of this one now, I can't imagine anything else or nothing at all actually being in place of these gasps, so it's just part of the song now, made it more interesting, I guess. Still pretty jarring when you first listen to it. Overall, I do like this one. I don't even know who this band is. I've actually personally never heard of them. So this being my first introduction to them, I think this is a good thing because I did enjoy this track. It's a fun one, it's energetic, it's a catchy tune, and it's not that in your face about it either. So I found that really kind of inviting overall. There's a lot to enjoy about it overall, so I'll be keeping an eye out for the album when that eventually does drop. Coming up next on the list this week, we have the band Knocked Loose, a metalcore band out of Oldham County, Kentucky. And maybe it's just me, but I'm not certain of many metalcore bands that have ever come out of Kentucky, but here we are now. They've gained a lot of notoriety around the scene since 2013, releasing a handful of EPs and 2 full-length albums, and they do have a 3rd full-length album on the way coming out this May, and it's called You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To. And I really like that name. That's a pretty badass name. I do enjoy that, very mysterious. But I digress. They have released some singles leading up to the release of the new album, and today they've released a brand new one as well, and it's called Suffocate, and it features Poppy, who we've actually featured on the New Music Review before. Crushing, punishing, intense. What other words do you want me to use to describe this track? Like, what a trip. This track is bathed in a very super crunchy distortion, like all over the production, and it really adds to the overall intensity of the track. Matched with these super low chugging guitars too, it just really has that overwhelming sense to it all. The vocals transition fairly seamlessly too, between frontman Brian Garris's screaming and vocals right into Poppy's. And when it comes to Poppy and her screaming, I tend to favor her screaming on her own projects because of the way that they do that distorted, reverberated kind of processing on it. Not that it sounds bad here or anything. Like, I don't think that it doesn't work here. I think it does, because it really matches up so well with everything else going on. Matches with Brian's very high, I don't want to say high pitch, but higher tone sense of screaming. So it's something that you might not even notice if you weren't paying attention. So I think it's just really well done here. Overall, I can say, hot damn, this is absolutely brutal and unrelenting. Great stuff here all around. I haven't heard the other singles yet, but from what I've heard, it's essentially just getting better and better and better with each single, so I think this is lining up to be a pretty killer album, and I'm probably gonna have to check it out when it drops. And finally, on the list today, another dig through Bandcamp, as I'm trying to do more of now. I found the band Sham Family, a punk band out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and they are gearing up to drop their brand new full-length debut album called A Deaf Portrait of Peace, and it's coming out this July. And it was the first song that actually popped up on the feed when I actually went through Bandcamp and found them. They do have 3 of them, but the title track is the one I'm looking at today. So count it. 55 seconds. In true punk form, we're given this very fast, aggressive, noisy explosion of energy in 55 seconds. That is true punk rock right there. There's some really raw and crunchy instrumentation all over the place. The vocals follow suit in that sound as well, with a very quick and tight delivery, so that's also really cool. I also dig the use of delay at the end of certain vocal phrases as well. It adds a bit of a different texture on top of that really messy punk feel to everything, so that was really cool to experience. And overall, that's really all I can say about a 55-second track, but you know what? I do really like it. I thought it was really great. Again, just a fantastic burst of energy. It's to the point, no nonsense kind of ass-kicking going on here. I will say, though, that I did go back to their Bandcamp page because, again, there was 3 songs available. I think they may have all come out at the same time. I don't know. There's one called Community Service and another one called Modern Myth as well. Both are far more composed than this one, while still kind of holding that noisy edge that so far I think this band tends to hold. And it kind of reminded me of Metz a little bit too, which that can't be a bad thing because I really do enjoy Metz. So that's a very brief review of those other 2 songs, but the one I looked at today, I really like it. And that is all I have for the New Music Review today, so thank you very much for tuning in, hanging out with me, and listening to these songs. And if you did indeed listen to these songs, you know what to do. Let me down. Don't let me down, please don't do that. Let me know down in the comments below of what you thought of these tracks. I'm very curious. You hear my opinions and me rambling on about them. I want to hear your opinions, and you're not necessarily rambling because I haven't heard you talk before. But regardless, let me know what you think down in the comments below. It's fun to have these conversations. I don't want to be the only one talking about it, so please join in. Let's have some fun. Another way you can let me know your opinions too is if you go to ratetherecord.ca. That is www.ratetherecord.ca. I mean, you can't let us know directly on that page, but I will say that there are several links that you can follow to, let us know your opinions, especially the social media links, which you'll find all over there, the streaming links. We have a request for albums for when the podcast eventually does come back. That's kind of in the works and planning right now. More on that later. But yeah, you can do all that. There's merch, and also you can support the show over on Ko-fi. But all of these things I'm saying can be found at the one hub, ratetherecord.ca. This is the part at the end here where I usually tell you some updates and things going on with the channel and everything like that. I did say there are plans in the work to bring back the podcast. Nothing official yet, and I have to kind of break down the news about it a little more. So again, that will be more to come like later on. There'll probably be a whole separate video on that, just telling you what's happening with that. Other than that, right now I'm just doing some new NMRs, and next week is a brand new ILTS video. The I Love This Song series is coming back once again. I have it recorded. I actually just recorded it today before this, so got a lot of things to do over the next few days, but you will get a brand new one this coming Monday. Gonna be exciting, so make sure that you're tuned in and ready for that. And of course, another NMR will come out next week too, so look at that. A lot of content. And I've rambled on far too long now, so that means I have to wrap things up. So once again, thank you very much for hanging out with me today. Until I see you next time, go listen to some awesome music, even if it counts for today's songs or whatever the hell you want to listen to. Regardless, take care, friends.